I'm going to start. Is that hot? Oh, I just got loud. Hi. Went to repair days, got my first job working in a metal shop, and then just fell in love with blacksmithing. As soon as I found out that I could bend metal to my will, I was like, yeah, that's it. So I've been self-employed for 20 years now. So I always say I should give the lecture on how to run a business, which is don't spend the money until, until the job is done. Don't spend the money. So the first piece of this that I'm going to do is this piece right here. The terminal, you got me? The terminal end on this piece is what we have dubbed the saber. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a small taper, a quick taper at the end. One corner of the original stock I'm going to draw out to make this point, and I'm going to shape that part over the horn. And I'm going to hammer this back edge to flare it, and then I'll hammer this point to draw it out. Okay? Easy. Am I hot? No. Can we turn it up a little bit? That sounds more like my village.
With the back door open, it probably doesn't.
Oh, we can put a brick behind it. Yeah. That's going to help. Nope. We're going to burn each other.
Don't do that.
I know, right? We just started. Let's not burn each other. Okay. So, and I will mention the cute small person running around here is mine. His name is Alex, and if anyone sees him out of bounds, you say, your mother said get back here. Okay? So, what else? What else can I say before I hammer something? Let's give it just a sec more. So typically when I will tell you how I arrived at the lengths of the material. That's a good thing to talk about. I love this tool right here that you can buy at the Walmart in the sewing department. All I do is follow the curve, measure along.
So this is the more efficient version of do it with a wire and then measure it?
It works either way. If I don't have this, I'll take an extension cord because it doesn't stretch, and you can bend it and then measure the extension cord. You can do it.
Well, but doing it with the tape just seems
Same.
overwhelmingly efficient.
It is pretty efficient, yeah. All you have to do is remember to calculate that you're going to gain a little bit of length when you draw the tapers and that kind of thing. So hopefully I've got the right length.
You should mention too that some of those are different. The ones that are made with cloth will stretch.
Oh, yes, excellent point. Get the plastic one. Don't measure your hot metal with it. The cloth ones will stretch. The plastic one doesn't. So, but yes, you can definitely bend a piece of wire. I am measuring pretty much down the center of the piece because, as you know, the inside edge is going to go into compression. The outside edge is going to stretch. So I'm measuring down the center. Except on a flare. Then I'm going to kind of stay in here because that material I'm going to draw out. So, am I hot?
Yeah, just about. What's the next piece?
Thank you.
Yeah. That's on the microphone.
Wow, and you guys don't edit the video, do you?
What's the next piece you want in there and how much?
Okay.
Get that.
Yeah. That's the next one. We're gonna probably do two at a time. The second piece I'm gonna do is this one. It has a saber at the end, and then we're gonna start doing what I refer to as a taffy pull, which is we're gonna bend that metal and we're gonna stretch it to give that life to it. So, and I've given myself a horrible bout of tendinitis. Has anyone had that? Yeah. Normally, you get it in your hammer arm. I have gotten it from using tongs. So I'm gonna try and be as zen as I can and not aggravate my arm. So I don't know, does anyone have any good tips for getting rid of it? I've had 6 months.
Time.
6 months?
Figure it, no, 2 years.
2 years? I don't have 2 years.
No hammering.
Well, the hammering is fine, I just can't hold the metal. So. The stretch?
It's a $15.
You know what? You're gonna have to tell everybody the $15 tool in a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a short taper. So I'm already starting to put the curve into it by going to the horn. I'm also, of course, using the horn as a bit of a fuller. That is not super hot. What was I going to say? I had a thought.
You're too young for that to start.
Jill, could you hold that up for me for a minute?
The drawing? Yeah, absolutely. There you go. All right. What? Oh! Ta-da! Got me.
One more.
He's getting me first. Got it? Okay.
Don't hide behind that.
And this will be available. This will be available for viewing and plagiarism throughout the conference. Okay?
Plagiarism is sincerest form of theft.
Plagiarize. Let no one else's work evade your eyes. That's what exactly. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Very simple. Oh wait, did I just go the wrong way? I did. Hang on. Okay. That's getting kind of hot. So what I am going to do, I'm going to pre-curve this because when I start hammering this point out, it's going to want to take the curve out of the back.
I have an answer for your tendonitis.
You have an answer for my tendonitis.
Take your thumb off of the stock and put it on the side.
I'm not going to try that while y'all are watching.
Well, mine developed from using wrenches.
Uh-huh.
With my thumb on the wrenches for added leverage.
And you're,
And you have your thumb on the top of the stock.
I certainly
pushing
do.
down hard on it.
I certainly do.
Move your thumb off of that, and it'll help. It'll go away quicker.
Okay, I'm going to try that. I don't know if I'm going to try that in front of you guys. Okay. right. Okay, so I've got that shape. You can see that is going to become the point. I'm going to hammer the outside edge. Yeah. So I'm starting to get that flare. This is not hot, or else am I crazy?
I turned it up more. The other piece is ready.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the most basic tools that pretty much anybody in this room has: a forge, an anvil, and a vise. And then I'm also going to show you how to do these same things using the power hammer and the fly press. So, because it's early. Because I didn't make up my mind. All right.
The other one.
Okay. Okay. Chiseled over. Okay. That was a little more efficient. I'm waking up.
This one's ready. I turned the forge up a little bit more. So.
Oh, good. Thank you. Back. All right, so this one, because I did it backwards, doesn't have as much of a nice little point, but we're going to save it. Now you got me thinking about my thumb. Yeah, that was not my best move. Yeah, I shouldn't have flipped it because I kind of lost that little point. So what I'm doing, I'm going to draw that taper. I'm going to neck right behind it. I'm going to kind of recreate that point. Oops. This is a much better setup than the first one. Okay, can you see the form coming together? All right. There we go. This is not my best moment, but Okay.
Hot?
Ack.
Still not very hot?
I'm not happy with that one. Not you, me.
Oh.
Okay, this is a happier piece than the other one. I saved that. Okay, one more try. That is not great. You know what? Okay, so in my shop, if I'm finding it this hard, I'm going to chunk it. I'm going to do another one. We're going to leave this one for now. We'll see. Because it's really boring to watch me try and fix it, isn't it? What? Yes, exactly. I meant it to be that way. All right. So I'm going to forge the other end of this. We're going to ignore that. And this time, I'm going to use the hammer. Okay? Where is my soapstone? Ah. So there are some gently radius drawing dies on the hammer, which I don't want to get too basic, but we all know the drawing dies are going to move the material, it's going to fuller the material out. So I'm starting with something that's kind of like that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fuller here, pull material out here, here. I'm going to start making this edge thinner. And then I'm going to come back to the anvil and I'm going to hit right in here, which is going to start pulling that out. Does that make sense? I'm going to end up with two planes, theoretically. Okay. All right, so that's the first one. I can spread it more if I want it to be a more dramatic shape. We're going to stick with this for now. You want me to? Here, I'm supposed to put this here for you, aren't I?
It's got a little neat.
Got it? Okay.
Hammer do you like to use?
That is my go-to hammer. I don't know, people refer to it as a Hoffy style hammer.
Check style.
Jack style. There's a big dragonfly.
They used them for 1,000 years before the coffee.
Yes, yes, that's why I said people call it a Hoffy. I don't think Hoffy came up with this. So this hammer was actually made for me by a blacksmith named Bill Bastis. It's slightly smaller than like the big broody ones, but I like the compact head on it because when I'm striking with a hammer that has a lot of length, I feel it kick more. I just feel like I have more control with this, and I like the shorter, thicker handle too. Yeah. But you know, I mean, we all have an arsenal of hammers. It's just we all have our go-to. So this is the piece. Well, here I brought a sample. This is going to be that. And if y'all want to pass this around, you know, you can see this is a saber I did without everybody watching me and not at 8 o'clock in the morning. And this is the part that we're going to do with the taffy pull. So you're first.
Thank you. Chocolate china.
Okay, so this is the third and final taper or saber that I'm going to do. So I'm going to start the taper on the anvil, and then I'm going to do that fullering action on the power hammer. Let's see, wait. I have to think. I have to think which way the saber goes. So if one is coming this way, as I come around, they're opposites. I can't tell you how many times I haven't thought about that and then gone, a twist would be really great in this piece. Okay. Okay, so you see I've got the basic shape started. I'm going to pull out. this hammer is my friend today. Okay, so I'm going to say the drawback to this hammer is not that it doesn't hit hard, it's that it hits a little unpredictably. If you know it's not hitting hard, you can just take your time with it. If it's going to wham something, that's when it's a problem. So, I would say if you're in the market for a hammer, you can't buy the beautiful Nouveau or whatever, just get one that's consistent, and then you'll know your own hammer. Okay, so I'm going to take the 4-sided taper I made, clean it up a little bit, knock down the corners to start making it into a round. Okay, I have a point. So to the artist in me, when making an element, when making a scroll, all those things, your eye, to me, a lot of the time is drawn to the terminal end of it. In a scroll, it's automatic. Okay, can you see it? Okay. So this is going to be that piece right there. You can see I've got a hump in it. I'm going to take that out, make it graceful down the back. I'm going to use my shims. So is everything clear so far? Too basic, too fast, too slow? Heckle? Okay, so now that I have the round taper that's blending into a square, I'm going to make that little loop in the center of my other piece. Okay, I'm going to ask a really basic question. Does everyone know how to tighten a curve or a scroll with their hammer? Yes? No? Okay. Okay, I am going to explain using this. This is a super useful thing to know how to do for basically anything that you're going to do at the anvil. If I am working with this scroll and I want it to get tighter, right? What I am going to do, I don't know where I'm supposed to face. I'm going to hit it here, right? The action of the tightening is happening between my hammer and the face of the anvil. I don't want to hit it a bunch of times there or I'm going to make a kink. So I'm going to hit it here, I'm going to roll it up, and I'm going to move my hammer as well so that that point of tightening is moving. That's the exact same thing I just did with that piece. I'm going to go boom, boom, boom. And that's how you're going to bring it in. You really want to get the inside to a nice tight radius before you get too far around, because at a certain point, I can't get at it anymore, and I'm going to have to do some little awkward maneuver like that. So it's best to get the center really nice first. But being able to just tighten it with your hammer gracefully is something worth practicing. Okay, so I have made this curve right here. I am going to make this bend, and I'm going to follow pretty much the inside line of that element, and then I'm going to flare it. If anybody's bent steel the hard way, meaning on the flat, coming this way, you know it's really, really awkward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the bend while it's in the square form, and then I'm going to flare it out.
But not change your bend.
So, good question. The question was, does that change the bend? Oh, okay. I should just draw it like that. So there's my piece of material in half-inch square form. When I start doing that fullering action and drawing it out, when I'm pulling this way across here, the material is going to start to open. But as I turn and I start pulling this way, it's going to start bringing this side back in. I'm going to pull this way, and it's going to start bringing that side back in. So pretty much, I'm going to hit that curve really close to what I want, and then the combination of the different fullering is going to bring it back into the curve that I wanted. Oh, am I standing completely in your way? Yeah. I'll do the Vanna White. You know? I'm not a letter turner. I'll try. Okay.
Finally got hot.
All right. You're hot now, Dan.
We're in the yellow heat.
Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to look, oh, I made that way too small. Let me open that up a little bit. Okay, so it's ugly, right? I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to open it a little bit. Okay, that's a little closer to what I have on the drawing. I'm going to look straight down on it, and I'm going to say the bend starts there, and the apex of it is right about there. You may have to stand on this vise. I'm going to drag you around the room. Or maybe not. We'll see. Yep. Yep.
Camera.
The piece is not super hot right now either. Okay. Can you guys see? Let's see if I'm close to the drawing. I am pretty close. I'm a little bit tight on the bend. I'm going to open it up a little bit. So you may be asking yourself, why is she using the bending forks instead of the horn? I can do it on the horn. If I want to make a bend exactly where I want the bend, then I'm going to go to the bending forks because I can be more accurate and I can tweak it a little bit easier. But really, I mean, the horn is fine. You can do it however you want. Okay, so back to the saber piece. I'm going to take that hump out of it, and I'm going to start fitting it to the drawing. Someone said my name. Yes, hi.
We're using the bending fork device as well as the hand. How do you?
Oh, yeah. Here, let me do this one because it's hot, and then we'll talk about the use of bending forks, because I love bending forks. Okay, so that's starting to look a little more like the drawing. Okay, see? All right. You guys cannot really see down on this, but it is starting to mimic the drawing. So I just did that curve at the horn to show you can do it. The rest of this curve, we're going to take a nice long heat now because I'm going to do a big sweeping bend. And I don't want to go icky, 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 icky with the bend. I want to do a nice sweep.
Looks like this other end is bent in the wrong direction.
No, I did not do that, did I? Oh, heck. All right, well, I didn't like that end anyway. Did I say I was going to do that? I think I jinxed myself. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's see, why don't you go ahead and stick it in as far as it'll go, and if you can set me up with some tongs and a tong clip. Okay, so let me work this piece, the one with the taffy pull flare. So once again, it's all about fullering that metal out. I'm going to adjust the curve so I feel like it's matching the drawing, and then I'm going to start pulling it out. Where did I put my soapstone? There it is. So I'm a little tight right here. Other than, I'm pretty close. All right, we're going to call that good. Well, let's check. Can y'all see that? It's ideally, if you can see straight down, I'm looking at if I'm following that inside line. Okay, so this is just the baby start of the flare. As you can see, well, hopefully, as you can see what I'm doing, I am hammering the outside edge. I'm bringing my hammer down at a slight angle, not straight flat, because what I'm doing is creating kind of a bevel. This is something, when making a living, you're going to do on your power hammer. And I might move to the power hammer and I'll do some more by hand. Is that cool with you guys? Okay. Okay, so your bending fork question. I am here to tell you that you can make beautiful things with ugly tools. And I bring this to demonstrate this is the ugliest bending fork you are ever going to see, right? It's nice to have beautiful tools, but you don't have to. This is, some round stock welded to a piece of 1/2-inch square. I have it a wider set and a narrower set, depending on what I'm doing. It's really lovely to have lovely tools, but you just don't have to. I generally am more interested in the finished piece than I am in making the tool, so some of my tools are pretty funky. This is a fork that I made out of a road grader blade. Once again, it has 2 different sizes. It's radiused on the inside so it doesn't bite. And then I just brought an assortment of bending forks. Sometimes if my little H is too wide, then I'll throw one of these forks in instead. So we might do that. You just have to be careful not to run into the handle. And then for really tight spots, I don't use them very often, but having a nice little pair of scrolling pliers that are, the difference between scrolling pliers and regular pliers. Scrolling pliers close together and they're radiused, and you can get in to the very little tip of your scroll if you maybe didn't get it perfect before you rolled it around. So these are handy to have if you need them. Hopefully you don't need them. Okay, so I am on to doing this longer bend, and I'm going to use my bending forks. Real quick explanation of how to use a bending fork since we're talking about them. If I put this material and I am locking it against these 2 pins and I'm using this second hand, if I pull here, the action is going to happen between here and here, probably a little bit more there. So if I want to get really specific or I want to do a really tight bend, I'm going to move in closer. For those longer bends, I'm going to back up a little bit. So you just have to remember where the action is happening. I am heating up the stock, and I'm just going to, the stock is going to give, in this kind of configuration on this longer span, is going to give all across that. Okay. See how more of the action is happening next to the fork, but I'm still getting a little bit of curve. So I'm going to look down, and I need more curve through here, and then I'm going to get into the straight here, so I don't need to add any more. And I'm going to, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to mark it here, so when I flip it over, I know. Okay, I'm close. And a little more here, and a little more through there. Now the marks are getting crazy. So I just have to keep my eye on where I'm going. I still have enough residual heat just to do this little bit of tweaking. Okay, so I need just a hair more right there. And I am looking at the quality of the line as I'm doing this, not just that I'm getting from point A to point B, but I want to get there gracefully. It's nice to have your post vise bolted to the floor. Okay. All right, so that is what we're going to call close enough to the drawing. I'm going to check to see that I'm reasonably in plane and let you take a picture if you want to zoom in. What I am going to do ultimately with these pieces is I am going to weave them together. So they're going to be taken in and out of plane, but what I like to do is make them in plane and then offset them. All right, so this one, we're going to set this one aside since I did this instead of this. You saw me. I said I was not going to do that. We're going to put a twist in it, and we're going to say we meant it that way. I didn't really like the point on the other one anyway. We might just cut it off and wing it. Okay. So did you say we need to take a break at 10:30 or something?
10 or so. It's 9.
It's 9. Okay, great. I just want to know kind of where I'm at. So which piece do we want to do next? And start heating that one. 35. Can you grab a piece from my pile that's 35? Okay, here's the tape. 35, and then just give me a, 6-inch heat or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to do this taffy pull at the power hammer. I'm going to come back to the anvil. I'm going to shape it, dress it out, planish it. Thank you. Okay? So I started pulling it with my hammer. I could continue doing that, but I'm going to cheat. Well, not cheat. I'm going to use technology. Oh, you want to dance?
Yes.
Okay, so can you see? Does that help? I'm pulling here, here, and there. So it's a little rough. It's going to be skinnier on the outside edge, thicker in the middle. And normally I would be able to do this without taking so many heats. Thank you. I'm going to also just knock this back into plane. I don't want to get too far out of whack. Question from Dan.
You may have said it already, but on your SAMAC, what shape dies do you use for that?
I typically am using the gently radiused dies on my hammer.
About the same radius as this, or
I actually like this radius because I'm getting enough fullering action. My dies are a little worn on mine, so mine are maybe not quite as aggressive as I would like them to be. Mine are kind of more like what I refer to as a bread loaf. They're, yeah. So does anyone have any questions about what this action I'm doing? I'm going to do it again. So, and can you see when I'm at the hammer? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so the next piece that I am going to start on is this kind of organic squiggle. So once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a taper. I'm going to make it into a round, but it will transition into a square. So you all know when you draw a round taper, you're going to go four-sided taper, then you're going to go octagon, and then you're going to go round. The way to transition from round into square is you're going to go round, octagon, square, but you're going to leave that transition. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, I'm going to use the hammer for the taper. Once again, I just like a nice fine point because your eye goes right up to it. I'm going to do the same action I did with the hammer, the power hammer, but I'm going to do it with my hand hammer. I'm going to hammer on one side and then the other side to keep that centered. I'm rotating the piece. So in this step, what I'm doing is not only furthering the flare, I'm also planishing out the marks from the hammer. So you want to do your shameless plug? What? You got to plug yourself. When I demo, I like to invite everybody to share some of their favorite things. You know, a conference is an opportunity for us to learn from each other, to network, and it's not just about watching me hammer. It's about going, hey, I like Van's Instant Gun Bluing. They are the coolest company. They have a great product, mom and pop, and I plug them every time.
Who's that?
Van's Instant Gun Blue from Bloomer, Wisconsin. They're way cheaper than anybody else. You know, mom answers the phone, she mails it to you, and then you mail her a check. That's the kind of people I like to do business with. So if anybody has something, you know, that they have found that they like, that works for them, holler it out. Dan?
You can't call on me cold like that.
So Dan, I'm sure y'all know, has a business.
No,
No, you don't?
I sold it 2 years ago.
Get out of town. See, we haven't seen each other. You did? Oh, you know, I guess you don't want to plug it then?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you want good water jet cutting, Colorado Water Jet is your place to go. And they also have 5-axis cutting now, so they can actually cut the weld bevel on it if you're welding something together.
Anyone else have something that they love, use, recommend? No? I'll give you another one. I love Red Wing boots. Who has, you agree? They're the best. They're the best. You can get them resold. I actually had a pair resold that it felt like having brand new boots that already fit my feet. It was great. So they last forever. Yeah, you can plug anything you want. You can plug your grandma. It's okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do just a little bit more flare at the apex of this bend to make it a little bit more dramatic. I have a funky bump right there that I don't like. If I'm looking at the line, I'm going to knock that back. It's close to what I want. I'm going to check it against the drawing. And I think it's a little bit wide. Well, it's close. It's really close. So luckily, because this is just a demonstration, it's just a decorative panel, I don't have to hit this drawing perfectly. It doesn't have to fit anything. If I were doing this as a panel in a railing and it had to fit, then I'm going to have to be a little bit more precise. Sometimes what I'm going to do is set some bars to give me the parameters of what I'm working within. And if I'm going to do, say, 4 or more of the same thing, I'm going to make a jig. What?
You said if you're doing 4 or more, you're going to do what?
I would make a jig or a fixture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I had a comment. I was really surprised that when you flared it, as you call it, that it didn't change the radius.
Yep. When you hammer the apex of the curve, it opens. When you hammer those edges, it brings it back in.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
Very close to exactly. Yep. So you missed the chalk talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the squiggly piece. I'm going to go from a square taper to a round tip octagon. So I don't know about you guys. I mean, I think the finished piece looks kind of complicated, but as you can see, I don't think I've used any skills that are really overly tricky. It's just combining those basic skills to make the forms. And then when you put the piece together, that's where it really starts looking interesting. So, let's see, where am I? I can adjust this a little bit at this stage. So to me, what makes the piece elegant, and I will hold it on the anvil, is that it's not flared all the way around. It looks like you took the apex and pulled it, which is why I'm starting to, I got a little wide on the side and I'm thinning that out to give more drama to the shape. So this one, okay. We'll do one more little bit. And I will tell you, when I'm working the end element of a piece, I don't take a foot-long heat. A lot of people will jam that piece of steel way in there, and you're just making it harder for yourself. So heat the appropriate amount of material for what you are working with. Okay. All right, so we are moving on to the squiggled element. Once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the bend, I'll flare it, make the next bend, flare it, and work my way down. And I always work from the tip, not the other way. I don't know how to do it the other way. Back. A little more hook. Once again, I'm using that same technique, bringing it back at myself. Okay. All right, that's going to be my first bend, and I'm going to just do the start of it with residual heat. Oops, I should have quenched that. Did you see what happened? Oops. I'm going to heat it again. I'm going to fix that. So what I did not do that I should have done was when I had that end the way I wanted it, just quench the end and it's going to hold.
You had to read on your drawing what is round and what is square.
I did not mark on the drawing what is round and what is square. Pretty much in this instance, I'm not playing a whole lot with a variety of material shapes, but it's more the terminations and the line interaction. You can certainly play with material shapes and intermingling them. You can certainly play with different sizes of material when you're designing in Art Nouveau, because just think about nature. You might have tree branches, you might have grasses, so that interplay of larger and smaller elements together is seen in nature. Art Nouveau is all about looking at the natural world around you and incorporating those forms into it. And it can be very literal, or it can be more like this, interpretive. So on this, the only rounds I really have are just a couple terminations. Sometimes I do them as more of a flat taper. It just depends.
Jill, are there certain particular Art Nouveau artists that you inspired by?
Excellent question. What Art Nouveau artists am I inspired by? So, and I brought my favorite book of inspiration. There are a lot of Art Nouveau books, and I'll look at Art Nouveau books that have no ironwork in them just to look at the forms. But to me, this is the Bible. And here, I'll put it there so I don't wiggle. That's, to me, the Bible of Art Nouveau ironwork. And as I was saying, it has everything from very interpretive forms to very literal forms. And I have literally just gone along and taken little elements like this shape right here, which is exactly the shape that I'm making. I don't know if you can see it or not. We're obviously not making this entire door, but this form right here is a classic Art Nouveau form. It's a taper, it's the bend, it's the taffy pull. And so you can just go through a book like this and find bits of inspiration and plagiarism, because it is open season on antiques, right? So yeah, this book is Art Nouveau Decorative Ironwork, 137 photographic illustrations by Theodore Menton, Menton. Yeah, I think it is. Yes, this is a Dover book. And you can buy it on the internet still, I think. Yeah. There are lots of good books, but this has been my personal go-to, and you guys are welcome to flip through it, take pictures, see where I get some of my ideas.
I don't have a plug, but I have a request.
Yes, a request.
After the conference, I'm going on a backpack trip just north of here, and I'd like to meet my tools and extra stuff with either the school or somebody locally rather than at the trailhead, but it may not be there when I get back.
Yes.
You can put it in my truck.
You haven't seen my tools.
Okay, so if anybody, how long are you going to be gone? When are you coming back?
Maybe gone a week, so we're heading out Sunday, get back Friday.
Okay, so did you guys get that? If there's a local who would be willing to hold a bag or box of tools until your return? And what's your name?
Steve.
Steve. Go find Steve if you're a local and you're willing to help him out.
Thank you.
All right.
Jill, I have a
Plug.
plug. Yeah, Challenge Aspen, their Camel Network.
Wait. I gotta mic you. What? I cannot hear you.
Yeah, Challenge Aspen, their Camel Network,
Here.
Camel program, provides opportunities like this for veterans, disabled veterans, to come and participate, and they do a lot of skiing and stuff like that.
And where is it?
It's in Snowmass. Yeah.
Snowmass.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you locals all familiar with that?
Challenge Aspen, the Camel program.
Cool.
John runs that.
Do you want to plug yourself?
Sure. The CAMO program stands for Challenge Aspen Military Opportunities. We're based in Snowmass Village. We do 20 weeks worth of programming, 7 weeks in the summer, 13 weeks during the winter, and we do 100% scholarship opportunities for veterans with disabilities.
Excellent.
We're on the internet.
Okay. I like this plug. Oop. I've unmiked myself. Help. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, great. Excellent. Let's see. Okay, so I am going to do the bend on the one that I did the taffy pull. We're gonna let that go in 1 second. Okay. I'm just shaping up the inside of the bend a little bit on the horn. I got a little spot right there that I didn't like, and now I'm just gonna that's fine. I need to be a little tighter right there. Okay, that's coming together. I'm going to take another heat. And this time, because I've pretty much got that terminal end, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the longer heat now. Okay. Okay, I'm going to quench the tip this time. It might give a little bit, but nothing like it did before.
Oh, it's hot.
It's hot. Before I get too far, I'm going to be sure I like where the bend is happening. Oops, I'm upside down. I'm not used to working on a table this short. Okay, yeah, so that bend, the apex of the bend is happening right about where I want it to. So I can use my hammer to tighten it up. I can use the forks. I could take another heat, so. All right, so that is still heating up. Hammering is not hard. Talking and hammering is.
Jill, could you tell us something about the finishes you use in your shop?
Yeah.
Decide what to do and why.
Excellent question. So, the topic is finishing. So we're going to do, in my shop, my favorite finish uses Van's Instant Gun Blue. Because we do a lot of combining of forging and fabricating in the shop, and we grind all the welds, we end up, with a shiny spot where we've ground. And so you can heat where you welded with a torch and kind of, blacken it back up. If we're doing a big architectural piece where we have a lot of welds all over the place, we're not going to do that. So we send it out, we have it sandblasted to even everything out. And we have it sandblasted for patina, which means that they're not using as much of an aggressive sand and taking some of it leaves some of the character, but it evens the tone and it makes the metal receptive to the chemical reaction of the gun bluing. So once we get it back for patina, we use Van's Instant Gun Blue, paint it on till it's just dripping, neutralize it with water, let it dry, and you get kind of a flash rust on a very clean metal when you do that. So we use Scotch-Brite or a steel wool, and we just buff it lightly. Take the flash rust off and pull highlights on, some of the hammer texture and the edges, And then typically I use tongue oil for a coating. And we just rub it on and rub it off as we go. If you put your tongue oil on and you don't do the Karate Kid wax on, wax off, it will not dry. So don't leave it looking wet. Just wipe it as you go. Especially on a big architectural piece, you can't start at one end and get all the way to the other end without wiping it. So that finish is only good for interior. It's not going to hold up outside. It's not going to hold up in the client's bathroom for their towel bar. So for exterior, once again, we sandblast everything to prep it so that the paint will bond to it. And then I use Nouveau, and you should write this down. This is another plug. I love this product. It is Nouveau. It is a 2-part epoxy pre-prime. And you get a gallon of the pre-prime, you get a quart of the activator. It says you're supposed to mix the whole thing. Don't just get some measuring spoons, mix up a little bit, agitate it thoroughly. We put it in a jar and shake it, because if you don't, it doesn't work. And then we use a bristle brush, because it will disintegrate your foam brush. It will disintegrate your plastic party cup that you put in. Don't put it in the party cup, put it in the cat food can. Paint it on, and then in places where we have scrolls coming together and we have a collar, then we actually take the compressor and we force the product in between, and it will penetrate behind your collars. You can actually clamp 2 bars of steel together, paint it, hit it with the forced air, unclamp it, and you can see it coming through. So we do that, then we use industrial primer and an industrial paint. So, the question is, do we spray the pre-prime? I have never sprayed it because it is kind of nasty. And we, have you sprayed it before?
No, I was just wondering if you had better about spraying and then little bunch of freebies on some projects.
Yeah, so the question is about spraying the pre-prime. The pre-prime is the consistency of water, maybe a little thicker than water. It's way thinner than paint, which is why we use it to get in those small areas. Spraying paint is always nice, because then you get a nice even coat. But for the pre-prime, we actually paint it on, and we paint it on thicker in the areas like the collars and where the scrolls are, and because then we have more material to force in. But yeah, I love Nouveau. It's a really, really great product, and they have outlawed it in California, so I bought all that they had in Northern California. A gallon of it lasts me, and we do big architectural pieces, it lasts me over a year. So it's well worth it. I do not. You want to plug Smith's epoxy? Here. No. Yes, really.
I'm telling you, Smith's Epoxy, Richmond.
No. Seriously, if I would want to know, doesn't everyone want to know?
Well,
yes.
I'm saying you because it's right close.
What is it?
He's this crazy chemist, and he makes penetrating epoxies, and he makes, if you challenge him, he'll make whatever you want.
You're kidding.
And it's legal in California. It's made there in Richmond,
and will he ship to Colorado?
Yeah.
And he'll ship to Colorado. Okay. All right. I have not heard of that. Smith's Epoxy in Richmond, California.
Along the bay there. What is that?
The estuary there, yeah.
Well,
Oh, you mean like El
I
Cerrito?
can't remember what street it is. Yeah.
Oh, what street?
But right when you come to Richmond, there's this ratty-looking bunch of buildings. And
That's all of
Costco's
Richmond. What?
there. You know where Costco is?
I do know where Costco is in
Right
Richmond.
across, there's some ratty-looking buildings, and the gutters are all falling off of this building, and that's Smith's. But he's a freaking genius, but you have to kind of nurture him.
Okay, so the eccentric epoxy guy. All right. Good to know. Cal, I don't know, do you guys have issues in Colorado with them outlawing all the good chemicals? No? Well, California, yes, all the ones that really work, they're outlawing in California. So, I bought 6 years worth of Nouveau pre-prime before they outlawed it. And, you know, I just have to strain it before I use it. But because it's 2-part, it's not going bad. So, okay. What? Does it work as a clear coat? That is an excellent question. I made that mistake early on. It does paint on clear. So I thought, oh yeah, great. It's a really, really tough clear coat. It does not have a UV inhibitor in it. It is not meant for a top coat, and it will yellow if you don't top coat it. Yeah. Yes, learn from my mistake. Don't use it as the top coat. I have not found a really good outdoor clear coat. I have done some test pieces where I actually did the gun bluing process I was talking about and then had it clear coated with powder coat, which is an odd kind of thing because you get the variation of the gun bluing in the tone, but then you get that slickness of the powder coat. I'm not a big powder coat fan. Do you guys like powder coat? Mixed reviews. Yeah. You gotta yell at me, I'm a blacksmith.
Smaller stuff, there's like the big ceramic finishes they put on some of the firearms and knives.
Yes.
Do they have clear those available?
I don't know. Does anyone know about the baked on finishes people use for firearms? Can you get that in clear? I don't know. Duracoat? We have a company in California, it's called California Metal Spray. I've used them and they're really, really cool. They do an electrostatically charged particulate metal that I can't remember what the process is called. You're nodding, so you have to say it. It's metal arc. That's what it is. It's a metal arc process, and they can actually coat steel with bronze. And it's not plated, but they actually like spray it on, and then you can patina it. And in my slideshow, I'll show you guys a gigantic public art piece that I did. It's a big ship's porthole, so it needed to be bronze, but nobody can afford a 15-foot diameter bronze porthole. So we actually made it in steel and then had it coated with bronze. And so it's patinaing naturally and aging. So when I do the slide demonstration, remind me and I'll point that out.
ClearGuard by Sculpt Nouveau is supposed to be good.
Do you guys hear that? Sculpt Nouveau ClearGuard. So you've had good results outside with that?
I've heard others.
Okay. I've heard mixed results from some of the Sculpt Nouveau products, and then other people swear by it.
Yeah, there's spray bottles.
Spray bottles are nice, yes.
On the spray metallizing, I know that, now I forgot, Dan Nauman is a real fan of metallizing, having it sprayed with zinc instead of having it go to a dip galvanizer
Yes.
who's just going to trash it, probably bend it, gobs all over it and stuff like that. Spray metallizing with zinc works wonderful, and
Yeah.
there's a number of smiths that really like that for exterior work.
Yes.
Then it gets painted.
Well, and the company that sprayed the bronze on my sculpture for me, they zinced it first. They sprayed it. We didn't dip it because you get all those drips and it's nasty and whatever. So they arc spray zinc, and then they coat it with metals. You can do pewters, you can do bronzes, you can do coppers, all different kinds of stuff. But yes, the arc zinc is a very clean and pretty bulletproof finish, but it's also expensive. So you got to weigh the options. They charge by the amount of surface area. So. Okay, I think I'm going to hammer something. Here we go. What was I doing? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to continue the long bend on this piece. Oh, I'm just gonna, I can't see. So you can see I'm just using my hand to get the initial bend, If there's a little flat or something, I can come in and adjust. At this stage, while it's hot, I'm going to look at the back of this fin and see it's all unattractive and wonky, so I'm just going to center that up. That's pretty good. Okay, I need a lot more curve here. And that's about the length. I'm getting scaly because I was talking. I'm a little overbent there, so I'm going to mark the back side to tell myself to go the other way. And just now, I'm just going to look at it aesthetically. I don't like that being so straight, so I'm just going to give it a little curve. Knock the scale off. Okay. I'm going to give it one more little tweak right there, and we're going to turn it around. Okay. So I find when making these curves, I'm holding in my mind's eye how tight this is, which is why I don't have to keep going back and forth all the time. And also because I find it easier to follow my own lines. If you drew a line for me, I would have a harder time doing it from memory because I just know my own form. So when you start doing your own, at first, you might have to go back and forth to the drawing a number of times to get it. I want to make sure that it's good from the start and work my way down instead of trying to do the whole thing at once. Okay. So is my elbow twitching?
I see a difference in your elbow based on your ear, grip it tight, it really pops out.
Jim was saying that he could actually see the spot in my
Where
arm.
you're coming down around, it's not as hot.
I was trying to think about that while I was hammering, and then it's really hard to talk in front of a bunch of people, hammer, and think about that. Yeah.
Of constantly thinking about this to keep my thumbs off the top of anything I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
And I apply it on anything.
Yep. Yep.
And my grip, my power is not the same
Uh-huh.
with my thumbs in there.
Right.
You know, so it's a struggle for me, but it made all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm. Trying to not grip the snot out of your hammer is really important. I mean, you may only do this for fun on the weekends, but it's not going to be fun when your elbow hurts. So another word of advice is when your body tells you that your day is done, just listen. Because 90% of the time when I have hurt myself, it's when I thought, I'm just going to do 2 more heats and then I'll be done, when my body is saying, your arm's tired. So, be kind to yourself if you want to enjoy this for the rest of your life.
So, thought I had on design considerations is you got to take a look at what's going to fit in your forge. Not only the final piece, but as you're making it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I have 3 gas forges, at my shop. I have one that's a 24-inch diameter pipe that's 2 feet long with cast refractory on the bottom and kale wool on the top, and you can open both doors. So I can do a gigantic 3-dimensional piece inside that one. I have a forge about this size with just a front and a back door, and then I have one of those whisper grannies or mamas or uncles or whatever, and it has a door on the side, so when I am doing a scroll or something, I can stick the piece in, forge the center, and then when it starts to get too big to go through the door, I can stick it in the side. Of course, you can always have a coal forge too. But you know, definitely having the versatility. Oh, okay, I'll tell you another thing I love. The burner block from my forge. Do you guys have gas forges? I bought a burner block it's basically a brick that has a lot of holes in it, and then the gas delivery comes in, and what it does, it's mounted in the top of the forge, and when you turn that forge on, you can see the fire come down and start circulating inside the forge, and instead it doesn't make hot spots the way that if you have, you know, just 2 Venturis does. It's a nice, and you can make your own, I guess, by casting a brick with crayons in it and then burning the crayons out, but you can also just buy one.
Birthday cake candles.
I'm a blacksmith. What?
Birthday cake candles?
Birthday cake candles, yes. Excellent suggestion. You could burn out your birthday cake candles when making your burner block. That's actually really smart. I like that.
So I wonder if using the twisted candles would help mix it, the flow.
Okay, let's see. That one has a good end, so we're gonna put that. Oh, I did it. Sorry.
Again.
Again? I didn't even know I'd knocked those blocks out once. Sorry, Dan. I know. And you know, you should never do this all the time.
Yeah, just so you're aware of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got the tip and the first bend. I'm going to do this one at the anvil. I'm actually lifting the metal up a little bit as I'm hammering on an angle to really get that wedge started. If it's down here, I'm just working against myself. Okay. Oh, I forgot. That's not this bend, that's that bend. We will fix that. That's what I get for talking. Okay. So I am going to do, we've already made this part. I've already forged this end. Theoretically, I'm coming out the right length.
Hold still.
Ding. Wait, let me take my glasses off. So now I have this part forged, and I've come into kind of the transition between the curves, so I'm going to come the other direction.
Thank you.
Sure. Let's see, so that is that one. I probably should have done this before. You know what, I'm just going to dress the little tip a little bit more. Now, once again, I can do this on the horn, Or I can do it like this. I've got a spot I don't like right there, just aesthetically. So I'm going to give it a little nudge, and then I'm going to check it on the drawing. Okay, so I'm a little bit too tight at the bottom portion. And once again, I'm looking at the quality of the line, not just am I getting from A to B. Does my line have a kink? Does it have a straight that's a little disruptive to the eye? That kind of stuff. I'm a little bit, if you could see, straight down as I can, I'm a little bit more hooked at the bottom than the drawing, but for this purpose, I actually kind of like it. So, you know, you can play around with it. I do find, okay, now it's going to go all the way through.
I'd wait and then open up the back.
Okay, you don't want me to open it by just,
No.
what was I about to say? I had a thought. Oh, heck, I don't know. Okay, so I am going to open up that flare that I did.
We got about 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see if I can fix this in 5 minutes. I keep walking off. So this time, I'm going to use the opposite side of the fork, and I'm going to use my tightest fork because I'm getting a very specific. Okay, so that bend is in the right place. I'm going to take a heat, tighten it up, and then I'm going to flare it. And then we're all going to have a cup of coffee. Am I supposed to do one more heat, or am I supposed to stop? Okay. Oh, and I'll bend this one too. Wow. Ta-da! It always happens like that. Yay! Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to just make sure that I'm not crazy out of plane, which, you know, is just a residual heat activity. Okay, so that one's ready.
So, question.
Does it always happen that way? Yes.
With square stock, if you get a little twist in it,
Yes.
how do you recover?
Yes. So when you start getting a twist, you know, you really don't want to let it get out of control. You want to capture that before you get into a big issue. When you're forging a taper, I think most of you know this, some of you may not. When you're forging a square taper and you start to twist, you have to correct and shift that mass back before you get too far. I see a lot of nodding. Yes, yes, yes. So in bending, with the bending forks, one of the tricks is I am keeping that metal in plane. I've got my forks pointed straight up. The metal is in plane with the ground. I'm not up here. I'm also somewhat with the hand that's holding the metal, which is probably what's aggravating my elbow, making sure that it's not twisting as I go. If I do get a twist in it, I don't know where it went. I keep my twisting wrench handy. There it is. And so you can, you know, pull your forks out of the vise, do a little bit of correction on the twist, and then proceed with what you're doing. Sometimes if it's not bad, you can just hammer it out. But the twisting wrench is the quick, easy. So, okay, I'm going to do one more because I got the hot piece, and then we're going to have coffee. Yes, coffee. We have coffee? Excellent. Okay, so it's a little bit more open than I want, but the apex is where I want, so I'm just gonna just double check. Good enough. Oh, wait. Yep, going the wrong way. Okay. All right, so I've started the pull. We will finish it after break. Okay? All right, thank you.
See Ellie over here. Ellie, wave your hand. You got the iron in the hand there. Try lunch. All right. 15-minute break. Cool.
Excellent. Glad you like it. I always like it when people ask questions and things. It's like you never know what people want to hear. Am I still mic'd?
What's that?
Am I mic'd? I'm not booming over everyone.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it sounds. far as I can tell, it sounds great.
Okay, well, I just meant like,
These guys are earplugs.
here,
They,
will you turn me off? Am I off?